Welcome back to the channel. I am still coming to you from South Africa. In today's video, I'm going to review some of the comments to my most popular video to date, Microaggressions, a weapon used to silence Black women in the workplace. I will link the video in the description below. This comment says, microaggression is real out here. I've been getting it my entire life. I had an employee, a Chinese guy, who said to me, "How did you get that vest?" To remind you, I am a Black American and Cuban woman in engineering who has worked extremely hard to get there. And on top of that, I have 2 master's degrees. And he said to me that they don't really let Black people in engineering. I said to him, "You're wrong. They let me in." Colette, you made some really great comments on the board. As a Black woman, I really appreciate this message. There's a couple of things that I get from this particular comment. As Black women, we're dealing with discrimination because of our ethnic background being Black, and we're also dealing with discrimination because of our gender. And some people feel, and you hear this term, they don't realize that you can get discriminated against by other ethnic minorities. I know for me personally, I have dealt with that from different ethnic minorities where I live, and it can be hurtful because you look at those individuals and you think about how they are also trying to overcome barriers. But to me, it almost seems like sometimes these individuals don't realize that by mistreating another person who is also ethnic minority, it's not going to help them in their career. And let me just say this, a lot of them are finding out that right now. You hear about the FAFO, a lot of them are seeing that. They are seeing that pretending that you are not what you are, or trying to distance yourself from being a minority by mistreating another minority, particularly Black, because there is an anti-Black sentiment everywhere in the workforce. So you have these individuals who decide, hey, I'm going to play on the other team. And my whole thing is, you are not going to be accepted as a person who is not what you are. You're not white. And people will let you know that. So when I am speaking a lot of times about toxic workplaces, when I'm speaking about the discrimination and some of the experiences that we experience in the workplace as Black women, the intersectionality of race and gender, it is very complex, but it's very real. Now you have this lady who has an additional layer of her experience in that she is multiracial. She says she's Black American and Cuban, and some Cubans are Black. You know that. I'm not sure if she's Black Cuban or white Cuban or what have you, but it doesn't matter. The point is, when you have these multiple barriers that are put in place because of who you are, that you are a woman, that you are Black, it can cause you to question some things. You may say, what does that have to do with microaggressions? It has a lot to do with microaggressions. Many of the studies show that Black people, Black women, experience microaggressions at a higher rate than anyone else in the workplace. And as I mentioned in the original video, microaggressions are not something that other people don't always notice. Sometimes it's just that cut. I've seen definitions describe microaggressions as death by 1,000 cuts. And it can be very harmful, both emotionally and mentally, and also physically, because you have people who don't understand, pretend that they don't understand, don't believe it, pretend they don't believe it, and some of us internalize it. And then along with the microaggressions, you deal with gaslighting, where a person says something smart or snide, and then they say you overreacted when you check them on what they said. It's called gaslighting. gaslighting and microaggression go hand in hand. And it's one of the things that makes dealing with microaggression head on very difficult. All right, let me read another comment. This person wrote, "You think HR is a nightmare? Try going to EEOC about workplace discrimination. They'll treat you like you're the criminal, leave you on hold on the phone for hours, no exaggeration, and take literally years, over 2 years from my case to eventually just give you a right to sue. But they won't help you with any step in that process, not even the financial part, which they're supposed to, but only if they decide to take your case." One of their employees at the EEOC just flat out told me, "If your situation doesn't make the news, especially the national news, or if it's not an LGBTQ issue, they don't want it. So you're a straight Black woman being discriminated against on a job, bullied and or wrongfully terminated, they don't care." She said a lot. And having dealt with EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission, I agree with most of what she said. Black women's cases are not given the same priority as other discriminated demographics. I am going to be doing a video about my experience. I live in a place where the demographics is 56% of another racial minority group. And that racial minority group tends to staff the EEOC office in the city where I live. And there have been problems because they take the cases that primarily deal with their racial group. That's number one. And number two, white women who are filing because of sexual harassment. In fact, there has been lawsuits filed by African American managers at EEOC against some of this other demographic because they're not taking or even considering the cases. I personally had one tell me he knew one of the people that I named in my case. He actually worked with this person at another agency. I think it was the Department of Fair Housing and Labor here in California. We had that department. It's now called the California Department of Civil Rights. This is my interviewer telling me that he knew, looked at the person's name and said, "Oh, I know him. I worked with him." So at that point, I said, "Then is it appropriate for you to continue with my case?" He said, "Yes." And needless to say, my case wasn't even considered. And some people looking may say, "Oh, you might need to have, you probably didn't have evidence. You probably didn't have enough written evidence. You probably didn't have enough witnesses." I'll share with you, I have helped the company that I work for, or the organization, the agency that I work for, prepare and defend EEOC cases. So I am completely aware of what type of information, what type of evidence EEOC is looking for. I'm totally aware of it. And I'm not even saying that they had to take my case. What I'm saying is they didn't even review it. They did not even review my case and told me they weren't going to review it. I gave them a 3-inch binder full of written documentation. I had letters from our state legislatures where they told me to go file this and to follow up with them once I did file it. That's how horrible my case was. And they did nothing. So when this lady is saying that if you are a Black woman, you're not going to get any support from EEOC, I know that to be true. I had retired from my toxic job back in December of 2021 from racial discrimination, everything you can think of, career sabotage, just a whole hot mess. And probably about 6 months ago, I had EEOC call me on another situation. And I just finally told them, "You know what, just drop it. You guys are going to do anything anyway." So when people say that a certain administration is getting rid of some of these quote unquote safeguards and programs and things, I couldn't care less because they didn't help my demographics. Some people maybe they helped, but they didn't help mine. I also share with you, not to go too long-winded on this, I was in contact with a person who retired from EEOC, and he was up, Black man. He was an attorney. He confirmed that no, they don't help Black people, and suggested that if I have any future claims, and I'm telling you this, you can ask for your case to be handled by a district office. That's what he recommended, because this particular area where I live, there is not a chance in hell that they were going to review my case because I don't look like them. And I truly, when I went in there, I didn't expect to get everything my way, but I was shocked at the boldness and the callousness at which the young man told me, we're not going to look into it. We're not going to look into it. I hope that hearing the validation that this is not in your head, that this is happening, hopefully I can help you and others listening to the videos. Now, I know some of you are going to say, Colette, you probably didn't do A, B, C, and D. That's fine. You can think that, and I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I will read a comment to this person's comment. One person said the EEOC should be abolished. So I'm not the only person who thinks that. I will see you in the next video. Bye.